New York is a state that is said to be home to quite a few cryptids, but for the most part, it is more well known for its ghost sightings, being regarded as one of the most haunted states in the US. But over the years, something spotted in the wilderness surrounding the village of Kinderhook is said to be a creature that toes the line of spirit and cryptid. Welcome to Cryptid Corner, the series all things cryptids, and today we are going to look into the Kinderhook Blob. Today's topic takes us to the woods of Kinderhook in northern Columbia County, New York. The blob is very simple in appearance, just being a white blob, not having any visible features or even eyes, although artwork of the blob tends to give it two little dot eyes, kind of like typical bedsheet ghost appearances. The blob is also quite large, described as being as large as 7 feet tall, and is said to both walk and float in the air. The oldest account goes back to 1962, when a 10-year-old boy would be playing outside with his 7-year-old cousin, when they both would hear a high-pitched noise coming from the woods. When they went to investigate, the boy would spot a white whistling creature looking at him, although looking might be a bit of a stretch, as whatever it was, it had no eyes. The two would immediately rush inside to tell their parents what they saw, although the parents found nothing outside. In 1964, a man would be hiking in the woods, just minding his own business, when out of nowhere a white blob would float towards him. The man was so shocked that while escaping the blob, he would clear an entire 6-foot wide pond in a single leap. The hiker would return to the scene of the sighting with a friend armed with a pitchfork and a shovel. The friend was skeptical of the story, but upon looking up in the trees, he would be shocked to spot the blob moving through the tree line, with the two of them dropping their stereotypical weapons and just running away as fast as they could. Sometime later, likely in 1978, Barry Scott and Russell Lee would be camping out in the woods when suddenly they would notice the sound of footsteps outside their tent. Upon opening the tent and taking a peek for themselves, they would notice a floating blob, closely resembling a ghost with a bell-shaped figure. But what confused them was that despite the sound of leaves and sticks cracking beneath the blob, as if it was walking, it appeared to be floating above the ground. Most talk about the blob would be extremely niche, but in 2017, Owen Farley and Anthony Malinowski would be out at night when suddenly the temperature would drop and a high-pitched screech could be heard. They then would be face to face with a white blob, reportedly 7 feet tall, that was floating towards them aggressively, causing them to flee in terror. So just what is the Kinderhook Blob? What stands out with the blob sightings to me is just how consistent the reports are, with all accounts describing a simple white blob with many correlating features like the figure floating and the high-pitched noise that accompanies it. And due to its appearance, many believe it to simply be a ghost, and this does make sense given New York's status as being one of the most haunted states in the US. Being far more well known for its hauntings than its cryptids, although Kinderhook is said to have had some pretty big Bigfoot related stuff go on in the 80s, but that is a story for another day. About half of the encounters occurred at night in the woods, which definitely would bring more of a haunted vibe to the area. But as much as the blob being a ghost makes sense, that is more of a paranormal conclusion and not as much as a cryptozoological one. The cloud-like appearance of the blob also made me think that it would be very funny if this was just a low-flying cloud or some fog. Like, imagine seeing a cloud and getting so scared that you just vault over a whole pond and run at full speed through the woods. But having some fun with the idea, it would be interesting to wonder if the blob was an atmospheric beast, a type of cryptid that is said to call the upper atmosphere home, gliding through the clouds the same way a fish would swim through the ocean. A common characteristic of these creatures is that they are thought to be gas-based, semi-solid organisms different from the rest of life on Earth. These creatures are always the most interesting ones to daydream about, even if they are among the lesser plausible ones, frequently just serving as alternative explanations to known phenomena in the air. A cryptid that somewhat resembles the blob are the Medford shmoos, odd white blobs that were described as furry and peanut-shaped, and they apparently lacked other discernible features, and even floated in the air. The shmoos were spotted in Oregon in 1984, so there is a gap in the dates, and they both occurred on opposite sides of the nation, which makes the similarities pretty interesting for how separated they are, even if they are just some blobby fellas. The first blob sighting does seem slightly different from the others, as this is the only sighting where the blob is not described as a floating creature, making it seem more like a physical entity like the Fresno night crawlers, or if you want to stretch it a bit, even an albino Bigfoot or perhaps a ground sloth. But on a similar note, I was wondering if this actually could have been an albino bear. The account claimed that it had no features. So, what if instead of the bear peeking from behind a tree, it was instead getting a good old back rub? I feel like this makes sense, as the backside of the bear wiggling about could resemble a creature peering through behind a tree, as it was just scratching to get that perfect spot. And obviously, the high-pitched noise could have just been it enjoying itself, getting a good old rub. As mentioned a bit earlier, the sighting could also have been really embarrassingly missed sightings of things like fog, plastic bags, smoke, or a low-flying cloud. But I mean, I would doubt that somebody would be startled by these to the point that they would think that it was a fog monster and would cause them to sprint out at full speed. But perhaps that's just me being optimistic. Given how simple the blob is, perhaps it was an elaborate series of pranks carried out by some committed pranksters. All you really would need is a bedsheet and perhaps a pulley system or a zip line, and you could go startle the hell out of anyone. Although scaring someone in the middle of the woods might not be the best idea, especially in the dead of night. It might be the last prank or thing that you ever end up doing. It is also important to note that all of these accounts are anecdotal, meaning that there is a pretty decent likelihood that they were entirely made up. But that is kind of boring. But, I mean, even though it's boring doesn't mean it's not the right thing, unfortunately. The Kinderhook Blob is quite an odd cryptid, as it is one of the simplest creatures in terms of appearance, but it is pretty complex. Blob feels like an odd intersect between a ghost and a cryptid, as it has traits of ghost sightings and cryptid encounters. But, be it a trickster's spirit, atmospheric anomaly, an unknown animal, an albino bear getting a back rub, or even the light of Venus reflecting off of a sandhill crane onto a ground sloth's butt, one thing is certain: it would be really embarrassing if this was just a trash bag floating around. Also, the humanoid depictions of the blob are a damn good contender for the cutest cryptid. And that is going to do it for the Kinderhook Blob. I'm pretty sure this is one of the more shorter cryptid videos in a while. It might even be the shortest video of the October batch, but I read it in the comment section and I just had to do it. It was so funny looking, where I just saw that image of it peering from behind the trees, and I just thought it was so interesting that it was just a blob. It's like the simplest thing you could ever think of. But what do you think about it? Do you think that it was a ghost? Do you think that it was a creature? Do you think it was just made up? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. And as this is going up on Monday, it is the second to last upload of spooky season, and the next one will be coming up on Thursday as always, which will be Halloween Eve. Unfortunately, Halloween wasn't on a Thursday this year, but this is still going to be a damn good video. Otherwise, a good little hint, keep your eyes on Mount St. Helens. But before we do that on Thursday, I'd like to thank you again for watching. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and leave a comment down below what you thought about it, or if you have any other suggestions for videos in the future. I'm all ears. And also, you might want to watch that, the Halloween Eve video, because the ending yap on that one's going to be pretty important, because I will have announcements for the channel. But again, if you like the video, leave a like. If you like the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so that you are notified whenever an upload happens so that you can get to the nearest location to where you can watch the video immediately, because you need to be informed on where these cryptids are popping up. Okay, it might be you, like right near you. There might be a cryptid right near you and you wouldn't know if I wouldn't tell you, so be notified. But also, if you really want to be informed on these miraculous creatures, make sure to become a member. For just $3 a month, you gain access to videos early, along with the member shout out right here on the screen with the beluga and the food. And you are also a real one, and you get priority recommendations from suggestions in the comments. But you're a real one regardless if you made it this far in the video. And again, I'd like to thank you for watching. And as always, I will see you in the next one on Halloween Eve.